this is Hannah Walravens from the Australian Quadball team, the Dropbears, who recently won a bronze medal at the IQA World Cup. Thanks for joining us today on Smash FM.
Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on a Friday. Of course, let's turn our attention to, of course, our friends up in the top and in particular, of course, being with the recent World Cup bronze medalists in the sport of quadball. Of course, that is the Australian Dropbears women's team. And of course, we've got a very special guest on the show. Of course, she's the captain of that World Cup bronze medalist. Of course, her name is Hannah. She joins us right now. Thanks, Hannah, for joining us.
Hey, how you going?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. Well, I must say, firstly, congratulations. How does it feel a couple of months later about winning the bronze medal in the World Cup?
Absolutely fantastic. The Dropbears did an incredible performance over in Belgium for the World Cup final in July. We had an awesome campaign. It was a really big 3-day tournament with 31 teams, and managing to be able to play in that bronze medal match and take home third place is just such an awesome achievement. I'm just so proud of the team.
So what was there any expectations going into the World Cup?
I think we had a lot of expectations that we'd put on ourselves in particular, as well as on the global stage. People were really wanting to see where Australia was at. So Australia won the World Cup about 3 or 4 iterations ago. And since then, we've been really wanting to get back to that top of the podium and win again. But obviously, and we had a great lineup going into COVID, but unfortunately, World Cups were cancelled in that. The last World Cup 2 years ago, we placed 7th, so we had a long way to come back from there. And so we knew as a squad, we had worked really, really hard. And obviously, we were so proud of our achievements, whatever we would do, but we really wanted to podium. And so we were stoked to be able to come away with that.
Now, I have to ask, the bronze medal clash, you played the USA.
Yes.
You won 90-80 over them on the final day. Tell us a bit about the game and how sweet was it to beat our friends over in the States?
Absolutely fantastic to beat the US. There's a strong rivalry between Australia and the US in most sports, but especially in quadball. So when we won the World Cup previously, we beat the US to win, and that was the first time the US had ever been beaten internationally. So we knew to do it again would be a huge achievement. Interesting. I mean, the US had a brilliant tournament. They had won all of their games up until the finals, but they actually lost to Germany which is how they didn't get into the grand final, which then saw us playing them in the bronze medal match. And as you could imagine, they now only had their 2nd loss ever in history. They were pretty motivated to not have it happen again. So they came out firing. But our team was just so hungry. And knowing that rivalry was there, we kind of got going right from the start. We'd put 2 or 3 quick goals on the board within a matter of minutes. And then sort of the game sort of slowed down, and it was a really grind out, hard fought match. We were actually behind coming in towards the end of the game, but the game ended with a snitch catch, which is worth 30 points. So we were actually down by 20 points. And one of our players, Alex Cunningham, caught the snitch, gave us the win, and put us in front by 10 points, which was awesome. Oh, there were scenes. There were absolute scenes.
How important was it to bounce back in that bronze medal game after obviously didn't go too well in the semi-finals against Belgium, which I think you lost by about 40?
Yeah, so that was a really, the scoreline, I think, in that game is hard to think of that sort of reflecting what actually played out. So it was actually a really close game the whole way through. In that game, we were actually sort of trailing, but we caught the snitch, but it put us behind. If you catch the snitch and your team ends up behind, you still then play on to give yourself a chance of winning. So we caught the snitch, which gave us a bit of hope, but then unfortunately Belgium were just too good and overran us with goals in that overtime period. They went on to eventually win the whole tournament, and I think they put in a huge effort. It was their home tournament. They had so many supporters there. So I think it's a bit bittersweet when, you lose, the only loss of the whole tournament is against the team that eventually wins. But yeah, we were obviously all devastated after that loss. They did a really interesting thing where the tournament, most of the tournament was played at one set of fields, but the grand final and the bronze medal match were actually played at another stadium about 5K away. So it actually gave us a really great chance to reset. We all jumped on buses, had a bit of a team meeting afterwards and then got on the buses. And we had so many supporters who'd come across that we had just, as a team, had a pact of we're not going to the other stadium till all of our supporters can come with us. So we all waited around, but that gave us a chance to sort of eat some food, get ourselves hyped up. But when we got to the other stadium, it was a complete reset. We had another team meeting and hyped ourselves up and went, you know what? We've lost a game, but we can get out here, still do so well and win the bronze medal against the US. And that just got everyone just hyped up and ready to go. And I think that reset on Sunday afternoon after a 3-day tournament worked so well, and really fired us up for that final game.
How special was it to receive the bronze medal? And the question I need to ask you is, how long did you wear it around your neck for? And did you sleep with it? And then the second part, did you bite on your medal and was it pure bronze on the day?
Well, I'm glad you asked about it. I do have it right here. The IQA third place World Cup Belgium 2025. It still lives right in, it's normally up in my office, but I've taken it down for today. But yeah, for the afternoon and that evening, I don't think anyone took their medals off. We all were out partying in Belgium till the early hours of the next morning, everyone with their medal around their neck. And every single player on our team has their own chant, which is all based on like lots of just really well-known songs. And I don't know if the DJ did it deliberately or coincidentally, but I think most of our songs were played on that dance floor last night and the chants were going wild. I reckon most people stumbled home with their medal on and slept in it. Everyone was emerging in them the next morning.
What's next now, considering, I'm assuming you've had a bit of a break before, obviously, hopefully getting back into it again?
That's right. So there's a lot of quad ball going on year round in Australia. Most of the teams and players are based on the East Coast. So we've got a really strong hub based out of Sydney, a few teams based out of Brisbane and the sunny coast, and then also a good hub in Melbourne as well. And so each of them have their own tournaments run throughout the year, either on a monthly schedule, sometimes on a fortnightly schedule. And there's two big tournaments actually on the horizon that we're looking forward to. One is State Shield, which is kind of our state of origin tournament, and that's coming up next month. So usually, Victoria will send a team, New South Wales will have a couple of teams, as will Queensland, and it's looking like there could be Tasmanian teams coming up. We've had teams from WA and South Australia in the past. So that's our real, on a local quad ball level, that's probably the top level that you can play without traveling overseas. New South Wales has had a bit of a stronghold on that trophy for the last couple of years. So it'll be really interesting to see how that tournament goes down next month. And then later in the year, in December, we have our club national championship. So that's where individual clubs will travel to compete against each other to be essentially fight out for who's this year's best club in Australia. So that's, a few big things on the horizon. From a national perspective, though, we have had a bit of a break. A lot of players have taken the chance to travel around Europe and enjoy their time overseas, get into that European summer. And then we'll reconvene at the end of October for our next training camp, and sort of start our next campaign for the coming years.
Okay, so you mentioned about the club nationals coming up, as well as obviously he's getting back on camp and hopefully and playing again. Yeah. Any chance for our Melbourne fans that you get a chance to come down here?
Absolutely. So we have a regular tournaments running in Victoria. There's a few really strong clubs out of Melbourne and a few that have been previous national champions. And Victoria had a real strong grasp on that state of origin tournament for a lot of years. So we'd be very keen to get that back from New South Wales at some stage. So Quadball Victoria is definitely the place to look up. They have a really strong presence there and play their tournaments out of Fawkner Park, so just near the Alfred Hospital there. And that is at least once a month they'll have a tournament day. but it's also a really strong culture in Victoria at the moment of a rebuild. So really open for anyone to get along. On those tournament days, they'll play some games between the established clubs, but often have a really good chance to get new players in and play some modified rules games, so that anyone can kind of get involved and learn the sport. And that's open to everyone. So Quadball is really strong at being a mixed gender sport, welcoming people from all backgrounds, gender diversities. And it's even built into our rules about sort of maximum gender rules when we have our mixed games as well. So it's open to absolutely anyone of all ages that wants to get down and check it out. Looking up Quadball Victoria on the socials would be the place to go.
Okay, so are we going to see the Australian team coming down to Melbourne anytime soon?
Well, there's actually a few Australian players based out of Melbourne, and so I am originally from Melbourne. I learned how to play quad ball in Melbourne. I got picked from the Australian team when I was based out of Melbourne. So I am keen to get back there, and whenever I'm in town, I try to get along to their training days or tournament days to stay around it. And our training camps actually do move around the East Coast. So we have a national training camp every 2 to 3 months that are shared at this stage between Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria. So, yeah, usually at least once every 6 months, the Dropbears and our reserves team, the Auroras, will be training down in Melbourne at Faulkner Park. We try to post on our socials when that's happening and usually try to do an exhibition game so people can come along and watch and get an idea of what it can be right up at that elite level. But also there's always people there from Quadball Victoria who can talk you through how it would look if you wanted to join from that social getting started perspective as well.
Well, can't wait to see you returning back to the best state in the country, in the best city in the country.
Absolutely.
So, where did the love of quad start? Because obviously it's not a well-known sport here in Australia compared to all the other sports. Where did the love come from, and what does it mean to represent the country?
Absolutely. So Quadball started in Australia about 12, 15 years ago now. And one of the strongest states right from the start was Victoria. At our peak, I think we had close to 15 or 20 teams playing weekly tournaments in Melbourne. Me personally, I joined Quadball in 2017. I was playing footy down at South Melbourne. And they just started up their women's program in that same year. And so I was just learning to play footy for the first time. And a few players on my team actually played quad ball, including one, Taya Rawson, who played for Australia. She was playing down at South Melbourne and also playing quad ball. And she invited me to come over and watch some quad ball games with them and see if I wanted to join. I first watched it and I had no idea what was going on. So quad ball is, from the outside, it can look quite chaotic. There's four balls being thrown around. There's someone called the snitch running around with a tail off their shorts that people are trying to catch. Everyone's running around on a meter long PVC pole. You can see from an outsider's perspective, it's very chaotic knowing what's going on. So I came down and watched 2 or 3 weekends in a row just to get a feel for things, and then went along to a training session with her club, which is called the Wamping Willows. And they were just some of the most welcoming people I'd ever played sport with. They didn't care that I had no idea what was going on. They helped me join in, taught me the rules. I think very generously let me score some goals in my first game to feel like I was part of it. But then they were actually phenomenal team and they worked really, really hard. And we actually ended up winning the national championship that year. So I was hooked. Once I started playing, I just went, this is so fun. It wasn't like any sport I'd ever played before. It was a mixed gender team. So me playing footy, I loved that I could run up and just tackle some guys, and you said women group tackling men, and you had women doing so well, scoring goals, and playing really, really hard. But for me, I went, this is beautifully inclusive. I really love the culture and the people. And from there I was hooked. I kept playing at sort of local club level. Unfortunately, during COVID, the competition in Victoria was really, really affected because obviously we couldn't be going out and playing every weekend. We couldn't be training. And so post-COVID, it's been sort of a real rebuild in Victoria. And that's when I tried out for the national team for the first time. and was really lucky in 2022 to be picked for the Australian team. And we travelled over to and played in Ireland that year. And then played for Australia again in 2023 when we went to the US for World Cup. And then again this year, like to have played internationally 3 times is just, I'm so proud of that being something I've been able to achieve. When I started playing this and I went along, to my first tournament going, I really have no idea what's going on, but these people seem so great and so welcoming. And this sport actually seems so fun. To reflect back on that to where I've come to now is just, I'm so stoked by it, and I'm so glad I stuck around and kept playing, because being able to go play a sport internationally for your country is just such a privilege. And I've had so many strong lifelong memories I've made from it that, yeah, I couldn't imagine what things would be like if I hadn't gone to that first trial camp in 2022.
What's next for you in quadball?
Great question. So absolutely going back to our next training camp at the end of October. I can imagine coming off a bronze medal, there will be a lot of hype from everyone to go, wow, we've done this well. Let's do even better in the next World Cup. So the World Cups are every 2 years. And in between, there are other international tournaments that will tend to send our reserves team, the Auroras, to. And they're a phenomenal bunch of players. So I think for me, if I want to play in another World Cup, I'm going to have to keep working so hard, because that next gen of players are just coming through stronger than ever. And I think sometimes seeing your national team do so well is just such strong motivation for everyone to be like, hey, that's us. And so I reckon to be able to play another tournament, I'm going to have to work really, really hard. But on the other side of things, I love seeing our new players come through. That for me, even going to our national training camps, which we train in a squad of 50, sort of 50 players that could be selected for either team. I love learning things from all our new players. They see the game in such a different perspective sometimes, or they bring new energy to it. That for me, I find part of the enjoyment is even just getting around them and helping them be the best players they can be. So while, another World Cup in 2 years would be the dream, if I'm not up for it, I would love to be, staying involved with the team, staying around them and bringing that next generation of players through, just to help Australia get back to that gold medal position again in the future.
So what does it mean to be captain?
It means a lot to me. So I reflected on this a lot during when I was selected for the position and during the campaign and going internationally. I think sort of a lot of the leaders that I've admired in the past don't just do it as an individual, they help to bring the team along. And I think that was something I really reflected on in taking on this role, is what can I do to help all of our players be the best versions of themselves on and off the field. Everyone that got selected in our squad is a phenomenal player, and they all bring such individual and unique perspectives to the game and talent as well. So I think for me, it was helping to just motivate everyone to be firing on the tournament weekend and to play their best quad ball. Because I think it's important for me to be, doing as best as I can on and off the field, to also to role model that. But I think for our players to play their best, that's really what helped our team success. And yeah, we wouldn't have been able to get to the position we did without every single person on that team playing their role.
Let's finish with a couple of lighthearted questions about the teammates there
Yes.
at the Dropbears, which is, who's the comedian, the best singer, and the best dancer on the team, Hannah?
Oh, I mean, it could all be the same person. Let me think. We've got Bella Barr is a real live wire. She is phenomenal, very entertaining, great player, but always one of the most bubbly, first on the dance floor, always with a huge smile on her face, that if she's getting involved in something, it's going to be fun. So I reckon she has got to be right up there. In fact, I think on our karaoke, we had a karaoke night in the week leading up to the tournament. I'm pretty sure she was out there with one of her friends helping us pick all of the songs and being the first one up there. Ava, also a real character. Ava, I think, was on the microphone every single time at karaoke night. You're trying to share it around. Ava was absolutely taking her share, and I love that for her. I think Caroline Crawford has a really good way with words. Caroline would be one of our team comedians, bringing in the sass and the wit and the thing you need to hear in a time of a crisis to get the mood up a little bit. I think we just have a real great range of people who all have such unique personalities that combined, you're always, you might be down in the dumps after a loss, but there is always someone that's got a joke on hand or something to bring you back up again. And I think we have a lot of people with some sly, dark humor on the team that kind of permeates to everyone.
Do you have a pre-game superstition, ritual, or routine?
I do, in a way. I know there's a couple of people on the team that have their lucky undies and their lucky sports bras and things like that. I know one of the men's players definitely has a lucky pair with his girlfriend's face on it. So I won't out his name, but they had to be watched for the final. But me personally, I have a couple of songs. I'll often have my headphones in when we're doing our warm up and just cycle through the same playlist of 3 or 4 songs. But before we get into our team warm up, one of my really great friends who's also a chaser, Maddie, her and I will, often start by just throwing the ball back and forth, putting some goals in together and just doing our own little warm up sort of away from the team. Just so I find that, if we've passed the ball around a bit, we've put some goals in, then when we get into the team warm up, we sort of hype things up, throwing the ball, so getting our music in, start singing around. And then I reckon usually at some stage in our warm up, Untouched by the Veronicas goes on.
Yes.
That gets the team dancing,
yes.
That gets everyone cheering, that gets the voice up. And once sort of that song's over, everyone's in game mode, switched on, ready to go. And I think you build up through that, you get a bit of the Veronicas, and you are ready to go.
Did the team have any embarrassing moments on the field this past World Cup, and what was it?
Great question. I don't know that there's anything specifically embarrassing. I think a few players might be amused by some of the things they did or ways they reacted to situations. I think rather than embarrassing, probably our chants was a real highlight, I have to say. Some people probably got a little bit embarrassed when we repeated their chants over and over and over again. One of the chants is to the tune of Staying Alive. I don't think that player loves theirs a lot, but I think as you could imagine, as soon as someone doesn't love it, we go even louder and harder. So there was an awful lot of Staying Alive being sung on the sidelines. One of the players convinced the Canadian team that them personally, our player would be able to single-handedly take on a moose. And so they then subjected themselves to an entire bus ride of the entire Canadian team, convincing them why one person could not take on a moose. I don't know if they won or lost that argument, but I think their confidence was maybe a little bit destroyed after that. But if you think an Australian quadball player could take on a moose, well, we found someone for you.
Oh, that's brilliant. The last one I have to ask, was there any good nicknames in the team we should know about?
Oh, who does have a good nickname? I think we're all pretty good at sticking to our own names, to be honest. No, unfortunately not. I think none are jumping out to me right now. We're all pretty good at sticking to our own names, I think. And amazingly, there was a stage where there were 3 or 4 Maddies that played for Australia. We're now down to just 2. So we have, most will go by their surnames. We've got Bell is just Bell, but then that gets appropriately. So you have 2 Maddies on the field and you've got, all right, we've got Maddie and we've got Bell, but then you put Bella on and you've got Bell and Bella, and you just end up in this cycle of not knowing who's who. So, but we get there in the end.
Yep. Hannah, it is absolute honor to have you on the show. We've never had anyone on who plays the sport of quadball on our show. It is an absolute honor to have you on the show in particular, and can't wait to actually come down, and obviously when you come down to Melbourne, back to your hometown, and see what the sport of quadball is all about.
Absolutely. We'll have to be in touch when we've got our next training camp down there and get you onto a broom running around and see how you go.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us and giving up some of your time.
Thanks for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No worries. And that's Hannah Walravens there joins us from of course, the Australian Dropbears Quadball World Cup bronze medalist. Of course, winning that bronze medal over our friends over in the USA. There it is, over in Belgium a couple of months ago. There's more on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away. Here on the 15th year celebration.
Hi, this is Hannah Walravens from the Australian Quadball team, the Dropbears, who recently won a bronze medal at the IQA World Cup. Thanks for joining us today on Smash FM.